Wow. Okay, y'all. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow. We are live with another edition, y'all, of Pink Table Confidential. Hey, how you doing? All right. Y'all, welcome back to Pink Table Confidential. This is the space where we talk about womanhood, motherhood, and all the messy, beautiful things that come with being grown, feminine, and figuring the shit out, okay? I'm your host, Montana, and before we get into it, you already know this show is forever sponsored by Sweet Kitty Club, and that's where I make feminine care products for the girls who like to keep it sweet. And by sweet, we're talking good hygiene. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You can head over to sweetkittyclub.com. You can use code PINKTABLE, and there will be a sweet discount for you at the end. All right. I know y'all like, dang, we got somebody in the studio with us. That is right. We do have someone in the studio with us, y'all. And I cannot wait to introduce to y'all my guest. Okay. Because we are going to be unpacking something that I know we can all talk about, and that is motherhood PTSD. It is the trauma of being a mama, okay? That's the part nobody talks about. You know, the part that leaves you exhausted, invisible, bitter, and somehow we are expected to just keep pouring, okay? But I've got my cousin with me. She is a licensed therapist. She's a mother and one of the realest voices that I know when it comes to, talking about motherhood. And so later we have our Dear Kitty letter, which we're going to move that up today because the Dear Kitty letter, y'all, is what brought us here today, okay? And let's just say you're going to be clutching your pearls, so you might as well pour a glass of wine. Y'all know how we do it around here because we're going to be talking about motherhood, the motherhood that leaves a mark, okay? Now, hey, cousin, and I mean that seriously, y'all. This is literally, she is my first cousin, Tamanya, on my mama's side. Her daddy and my mama are siblings. Her dad is the baby brother of the family. And so Tamanya she's my younger cousin, but we not that much younger. So don't get it twisted. She ain't that much younger. But Tamanya, tell the party people a little bit about yourself.
Yes, as she said, I am a licensed professional counselor associate. I'm also a school counselor. I've been in the education system for quite some time. And I also have a beautiful family, husband, and three beautiful children, which two are neurodivergent.
Okay.
And,
Wait, go ahead. Okay.
and I'm ready to unpack this topic tonight.
Okay. So, two kids that are neurodivergent. What does that mean?
In short term, basically differencing and processing. So, if you're neurodivergent, you have some type of medical diagnosis, whether it's like a mental diagnosis, learning disability, and your brain processes information different from a neurotypical person. Um, my kiddos, one, Diana, has Tourette's. She also has high functioning anxiety, as well as mood disorder and depression.
Okay.
And then there's Dylan, who is identified as gifted and talented.
Okay. And we're going to get into all the things because just to let now, again, me and Tamanya grew up together. I would say like there were sleepovers. We had sleepovers and stuff, we I know as little cousins, like most of y'all, you grow up with your cousins, y'all have sleepovers and everything. Then you get grown, you kind of go apart. So I'm gonna say when we got older, we probably got a little closer than we probably were when we were kids.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So I mean, we missed the teenage years, girl. If we was kicking it in the teenager to one year,
I'm not sure what we would have been.
Do you hear me? it would not have. It's like when we were adolescents. We, like I said, that's how the family is. We kind of grow up together, and then you kind of get into like middle school, high school, and then you kind of go your separate way. And yeah, so and then we kind of came back once we.
Early
Yeah,
mid 20s.
mid 20s. We came back, and yeah. So Tamanya, I missed it. Like I wish we could like go back and
Yeah,
see what we could do as teenagers. We be girl, we be we be ripping this city up,
definitely have
baby.
some stories.
We definitely would have some stories. Okay. So I know that Tamanya literally just shared with me about Deanna having Tourette's maybe a couple of years, maybe a year ago. Did you tell me?
Um, Fairly, yeah, maybe a year or two.
Which even then, like, cause I have been around her, and I've never, if I know someone that was diagnosed with Tourette's, I don't know. So she's actually the first person that I know that has it. But when you revealed it to me, like I was shocked. I was like, I didn't know. I've been around her, like, and I was really interested in everything, knowing everything about it because, like I said, I've been around her and I never picked up on any of those things, anything. So, but we'll get into all of that, y'all. Speaking of, since we are talking about motherhood today, y'all. Krishan Rock, she is back in the news. I mean, we're not surprised by it, okay? We thought when she would, went to jail that she was going to come back out renewed and, a different person. And it for a minute,
It seemed that way.
it seemed that way. But so apparently, if you guys didn't know, recently she was at, I guess, Twitch headquarters or Twitch office or whatnot, and she's outside on the phone arguing with her baby daddy Blueface. Okay, she leaves Junior in the car and basically, is wanting Twitch employees to basically watch her son while she's on the phone arguing with her baby daddy. Now there's a video of this, so y'all can do your research and check it out for yourself. But they were not happy about watching her baby. Okay, they definitely didn't want to watch the baby. They definitely wanted her to, very much get to her baby. Okay, so she's on live while all of this is happening. Okay, and so she comes back. The baby is crying like he is in distress. Okay, and people are in the comments already lighting her up like, you leave your baby, you leave your baby. So you know what they did, y'all? They sent the video to Yunti Kia. Yunti Tia. I was like, Yunti Tia. That's Tia Kemp, Rick Ross' baby mama, for those that didn't know. For her, for her input. And, Tia basically said what everybody has been wanting to say, from a auntie, standpoint. And that was pretty much, girl, like, get that baby in some programs, get your ass off the internet and focus on your baby. And apparently, Krishan did not like that. She basically clapped back at Tia, talking about, because her oldest son is deceased, and she like clapped back at her about, her son being unalived, and my thing is like, I just, that whole situation, I was like, why is it so hard to take criticism, as a young mother? Like, as a young mother, how old were you when you had Diana?
I was 21.
Okay, my first child, y'all already know I was 17. So at 21, I guess you were adult, so you kind of,
Probably adult by age. Far from it in maturity.
now, was she like all in your shit, like telling you what to do and what not to do?
No, she was probably more helpful.
Okay.
Not like a forceful type of way. I probably more so asked her all the questions. That probably didn't give her the opportunity
Okay.
to kind of force it upon me. But there were, from just all around family, giving their lovely advice. So,
Like, how did you deal with that? Like, how did you take it? Did you receive it well?
um, I just smiled and said, okay. And then just kind of left it at that. As long as it didn't press,
Mm-hmm.
the issue. I don't. I wouldn't say I took it personal. It was like, let me figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But not to a sense of I would clap back
You
like
ain't gonna clap him back like Krishan,
Krishan.
okay, baby, because she does, and I'm like really it's just real interesting to me because, like I said, you put everybody in your business,
Yeah,
and
right.
then you get upset when people have
Their opinions.
their opinions of your business. But I definitely agree with Yanti Tia that baby, get that baby in some program. Like the baby's not even walking.
Mm,
And she was doing a lot during that
she
pregnancy.
was.
So, I just feel like she has the resources, just even though she's not a celebrity, but she has she's an influencer to some degree, and she has some type of status that would, in
Put
my
her above
opinion,
others.
like put her in a position where she could get the type of programs and things that she would need for the baby.
Hmm.
Like, girl, your focus is like
She has resources, but she doesn't have the mentality.
true.
So if you don't have the mentality, then you're not gonna utilize them. There's a lot of trauma in her life. I don't know much about her. Just kind of, from she at one point, that's all you saw when you clicked online on Facebook. It was something about them, but I do know there's family trauma.
Yes.
Her mom is part of it, so thinking about what she's been through, it doesn't seem that she's made any conscious effort to say, "Hey, you know what? I want to be different from for my junior." So yes, she has the resources, but she doesn't have the mentality.
Right. Now, you're a mom, therapist, and somebody who's raised a child with Tourette's, because your daughter is the oldest, right?
She is.
How old is she?
She is 22. She'll be 23 in October.
Okay. And just dealing with the fact that now tell me again, you said you have two kids that are neurodivergent,
Divergent.
and you said that means
Basically, how your brain works. It processes information different. So how somebody may go 2 plus 2 is 4. Somebody that's neurodivergent, just depending on what makes them neurodivergent, um, may process it completely different. They may go down the street, around the corner, and back.
okay.
Um, it's just something to look up on. Is very interesting. Um, but that's kind of a nutshell answer to explain.
Now, was she diagnosed as a child?
We first noticed when she was 2. It was kind of like a tick, but we didn't really. It was like very subtle, so we didn't think like something was wrong, and it progressed. And so I would say around 4, we noticed it was kind of like head movement, um, and we took her to the doctor. Of course, they couldn't identify anything, and then it progressed. So about between 5 and 6, it was almost like she was having seizures,
Mm.
like where she would like kind of arch her back. Um, at certain periods, it caused her to like lose her bowels because that's where the tick was happening.
Mm-hmm.
The doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. We went to all kind of doctors, infectious disease doctors. They didn't know what was going on. So after visit, and it got to a point to where I was just gonna pull my baby out of school,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I'm having to pack her a change of clothes. At this point, I think she was in first grade. That was hard. Um, she's young, you know, trying to explain to the school when you don't know what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it just continued to progress. Finally got a diagnosis of tics. Then it became vocal. I know people who are familiar with Tourette's kind of think of it in terms of cuss words. I know
Okay.
you
Yeah,
seen
that's what. Yeah,
movies,
yeah,
where it's like, oh,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there's many different forms, and she does not do that.
Okay.
But it's more,
And that's like when you said that she had it. I think that's where my mind went to. Like I've
yes,
never seen her
it's
do.
a
Yeah.
it's a form of it, but it's a misconception as well because that's the only thing that they show. Tourette's is classified when you have a motor, like involuntary movement, and it could be all over the body and vocal, over the course of 12 months or longer.
Okay.
And so that's how they came to the diagnosis. Her motor, vocal, sorry, tics are kind of more like clearing throats, uh, like just kind of noise sounds. Um, and we dealt with it. I mean, we did everything you could think of, research. There's no cure. They don't know how it comes about. We did get prescribed like a clonidine medicine, which is an old blood pressure medicine or blood pressure medicine, uh, that they sometimes use, but is not widely used anymore. And this one, she was 6, 7, 8, and she was just sleep all day because
Mm.
that's the purpose of it,
Yeah.
to relax the nervous system. So
Mm.
now we go from, okay, we have something that works, but now I have a zombie for a child,
Yeah.
you know, um, and I can't fix it,
Mm.
as a parent. On top of that, I got to work, at this time we had Dylan. So, life goes on. And it was really hard. When she became older, teenage, um, life is when it starts to really take a toll.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would say probably around 12 or 13 when um, she came home crying one day and was like, why am I different? And we just kind of had a moment, like, it, we just both broke down. Because how do you explain, to your kid?
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I'm thinking the same thing. Why is my baby different? As a parent, I'm like, I wanted a daughter, like, yay, dressing her,
Mm-hmm.
and you have all of these preconceived notions of what that parenthood journey is going to be like. And then I felt like a bomb was dropped, um, with no answers. How do you navigate life with a child with Tourette's? Nobody knows how it starts. There's no medicine for it. Um, so, yeah.
Let me ask you, how has motherhood changed your identity over the years?
Ooh. Um, for a while, I would say I was stuck in a generational cycle, the generational curse, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is how my parents raised me. This is how their parents raised them. You just do what you know. So it was more so, what I say goes. The yelling. You better get over there and sit down. Da, da, da. And not really like talking with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when this came about with Day, it helped a good deal. When we encountered Dylan's uh, experiences when he started school, trying to understand like the why, like, ooh, Lord, we got two. Um, what does this mean? What
Right.
do we need to do different? And so it took a while. Um, hmm.
What's a while?
I'm trying to think. I would say Day was probably in high school. Um, we she had a moment of where she was experiencing um, a bout of depression and we didn't know.
Mm.
16, that's teenage life. of attitude, so I'm gonna give it to you back, you
Right.
know, not knowing that something else was brewing with her. Um, we end up having to, we discovered um, cut marks, and we
Mm.
end up having to uh, take her to a behavioral place, and she ended up having to do inpatient. And it was that moment during the interview process to where all these years, how did I miss this?
Mm.
How did I miss this as a parent? You know, I think that moment is when I began to transform. Wasn't perfect, but that's when I began to transform to talk with
Hmm.
my kids more versus at them. Um, their check in, their feelings, um, and let them express to me how they felt.
Hmm.
Um, but I believe that was a pivotal moment for me.
When did you first realize that being a mom came with emotional scars that nobody talked about?
Um,
And you guys feel free while Tamanya is pondering. You guys feel free to comment in the comments as well, because I like to know that from you as well.
when I
Because I never knew that motherhood came with scars.
right,
I did not know this. you
and
know.
we didn't, and I guess we didn't know because as being raised by strong black women, and that
Hmm.
motto that never showed, or we probably didn't understand it. So I had no idea the journey, the questions, or just even sitting and thinking, like even to this day, like, dang, did I did I mess up my kids? um, and just feeling like, was there more I could have done? Was
Hmm.
there something I could have done different? Um, or feeling that guilt.
Do you think that women truly understand like what they are signing up for emotionally when they become mothers?
No, no, absolutely not. There's a preconceived notion of what you see on TV. There's a preconceived notion of what you see on the outside looking in from other people's journey. Um, but the late nights, um, as a the nurturer, a lot of the motherhood journey falls on
Do
you.
you hear me? I tell my kids that all the time. Like, you know, you can, you can have a partner, and that's good if you do. That's how we want to do things around here is with somebody. But just know that baby. It doesn't. At the end of the day, that baby going with you.
Mhm, that part.
And we say that, and it's so funny because when I have these conversations, like with my husband, he'll say, sorry about that, y'all. He'll say, not it, not everybody, and I have to keep reminding him. Well, the people I know, yeah, there are some women that are like cats, and they lick them and leave them. Okay, but I don't know a woman. None of my friends, none of the people, none of the women that I've associated myself with, they're not leaving their kids with someone. We were talking about child support, because the men get so,
Hmm.
baby, you talk about child support and the men get upset. Okay, and so he was like, I don't mind child support, but I just wonder why is it that women, like he said, when women get mad that when they have to pay child support, he said it doesn't work
It's not a
equally.
two-way
It's not
street.
a two-way street.
Mm.
And again, the women because listen, I was put in this position. So I do, my oldest daughter is not biologically my husband's, okay? Um, and so I remember when she was a kid, I will tell y'all, and I know that there is a camera and a microphone in front of me, and I will dare a person um, to say I'm lying, but I will go on record and say the same way that men will say women try to trap them, men try to trap women too. Okay, hello, that's me, and I dare a mofo to say that it's a lie, cause it ain't a lie. Okay, and so we were talking, and I said, most situations, it is, I remember putting him to the test. He was, I want my baby, I want my baby. Here, take her. She stayed over there. We counted the days. She stayed for about 4 days. I give him 5, and then my phone started ringing.
I'm done.
Okay, you won. Yeah, I mean, I have never been. I am one of the ones, honey, who will say that the kids belong with their daddies. Okay, so I would have been, and I told my husband, I mean, he would never know because, now our kids are grown, but I would have been okay with being a co-parent. Like, we could have co-parented. You ain't in my business and I ain't gonna be in yours, but it's just interesting, like I said, to just hear those conversations from men, like, well, yeah, if the shoe was on the other foot, okay, well, it's not. Okay, we will never see. But you, okay, as a mother, you said you first became a mom at 21. Like, what is something that you wished somebody had told you before, when you drop the news and let everybody know you pregnant? What do you wish you would have been told?
Um, well, I was in school,
Okay.
end up having to, pause for the cause. So I kind of wish that somebody pushed me
To keep
to
going.
keep going. That yes, you have something that has happened, but it does not mean that it's the end all be all. You just have to pivot, but it can still happen.
Right.
Because I say that to say financially, to raise a child, get alone children, it's quite the price.
Oh,
So if you're not ready or remotely ready, like career or at least established somewhere, um, that stress alone is a beast in addition to the stress of being a parent. So when you put those two together, that's a force to be reckoned with.
for sure.
So to keep going.
Keep going. I'm trying to think, like, what advice. Now it's funny because I came up with the question, but I don't even have like, I'm trying to think, like, what would I have wanted somebody to tell me about being a mom? I'm gonna have to come back to that because there's so many things. I really feel like our generation. I feel like we were just done a disservice to anyway, in my opinion, because the elders did not tell us nothing.
Yeah.
There was no.
Everything was a secret.
Everything was a damn secret, and I'm not like that with my kids. Are you like that?
No.
Everything
I
was a
made it a
secret.
point not to be like that.
Right. I feel like whether we were becoming mothers or getting married, like, I really feel like the elders in the family should have pulled us to the side and said, let me tell you what it really is. Okay. If what you heard, I'm going to tell you what I know. And we never got that. You know what I'm saying?
And it was more, I think, more so, that they're sweeping under the rug. I don't want nobody to know. Or if it wasn't that, this facade of being all put together.
Hmm.
And why people.
That's definitely, I hate to call her out, but that's definitely Dolly. That's Dolly Mae. Let me tell you something. We could be down bad, which I'm not gonna say because we wasn't down bad, but I mean like we could, as long as, but when it was time to go to church, there wasn't gonna be a hair out of place. Your clothes gonna be pressed, everything. She was gonna, have you in the best of the best. She had my brother down at Sanger Harris, and if you know, Sanger Harris used to be Dillard's. Okay, she have them at Sanger Harris with them butterfly collars, baby. So, for her, presentation was everything. It didn't matter, what was going on in the house. More so is how we looked when we came out the house.
I want to piggyback off of that because I could probably say I'm a little bit guilty of that,
Okay.
but not. Hmm, I mean, I guess you could play devil's advocate. I wouldn't say in a sense of presentation, but in a sense of, my mom was a single parent,
Mhm.
and so she didn't always have, but she worked her ass off, you
Mhm.
know. So I didn't get the cute, maybe designer or whatever everybody else had. So it was a goal or a point for me to give my kids that.
Mhm.
So I kind of came from a perspective of, your hair is going to be done. You're going to be G'd up. Um, and now I may look, I may have a hair or two or three out of place, but for my kids, that was always a must.
And see, that was the total opposite for me because I didn't give now dams, and probably because like you said, like this is what I come
Come
from.
from,
So
yeah.
I would rather you see, for me and everybody know me, being real was about my character. I didn't give a f about what I have on. It's who I am inside,
That's
and
the truth.
that is what I teach my kids. Like, girl, I don't give a, like, you could be the cutest in the room, but
That is
if your
absolutely
Happy
true.
Meal is missing some fries, like, come on, like, you know what I'm saying? So, and I think that is because that's just like, because of things that we were afforded to have when I was little, younger. I don't feel the need as an
To
adult
do the
to
same.
do
Yeah.
that. I don't feel a need. Like, you can tell, and it's no shade, no nothing, but you can definitely tell who had and who didn't growing up. Where they are adult wise and what they like to share and post and talk about. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I just
Yeah, those same morals and stuff are taught, but it was just something that. Now, no, granted, we didn't go out the house looking crazy, but it was just something that, I about to do. Our hair stayed combed, washed with the pink oil luster moisturizer. We kept a bottle. Um, but,
Shout out to Lavita Harris. She said she's a child support officer, and she was basically
mm,
saying, yeah, they get real upset about that, about the things, honey. You know, um, and so sad. Feel bad. So sad for you. For the men who have to deal. But anyway, I want to get into this Dear Kitty letter because, like I said, this was one of the reasons that really brought this conversation on. Okay, and so y'all know our Dear Kitty is where you guys send us your questions, comments, and we do our best to give you unfiltered, unbiased um, opinions. I try not to be opinionated, even if it sounds like I am. So, but you guys, if you want to submit to Dear Kitty, you can do that anonymously. And you can also go to our website to do that. So, sweetkittyclub.com. And you can just go on the contact page. And if you want to submit, or you can inbox me. I've been taking them inboxes as well. So, I want to get into this Dear Kitty letter. It says, "Dear Kitty, I keep seeing you talk about empty nesting like it's some beautiful rite of passage. But let me tell you something. These kids don't leave the damn nest anymore. Don't get too excited because I've got two grown kids, one girl, one boy. My daughter, she was the easy one. Didn't give me too much trouble growing up, but now she's stuck in a cycle of toxic men raising two kids by two different baby daddies who give her nothing but stress. She works hard, but she has no real support system. So, guess who has to pick up the slack? Me and her daddy. We can't even plan a weekend getaway without asking her, can she handle everything while we're gone? And then it's my son. We gave that boy everything: structure, stability, love, opportunities, and he still managed to screw it all up. I'm tired of crying over him, tired of the excuses, tired of pretending we didn't raise him right. I want him out of my house. I want peace in my home. But if I put him out, where does he go? I love him, but I'm not trying to bury my child either. I'm stuck between love and resentment. I feel like a failure. What do you do when you've done your job as a parent, but your kids just won't grow up? Signed, Mama on the Edge.
Whew. Smoke in the room from that one.
Girl, so what do you think about Mama on the Edge?
I could feel her. You know,
What part was like more like, did you?
probably more so the son part.
Okay.
He's not an adult yet, but you couldn't tell him he wasn't. Um, boys are different, and I've discovered that. I figured when I had Dylan, like, this our second kid, got this. No, it was like having a brand new kid, being a brand new parent, completely different journey. And again, this goes how his brain works and how he thinks. He's gonna challenge you on things. He's gonna see how far he can go. He's gonna test the limit, test those waters. And my husband and I always say, like, dang, like, where did we go wrong with this one? And I don't think it's a matter of you didn't do your part. Today is 2025. You got a young, what's his name, young boy, NBA.
NBA young
Yeah,
boy.
there
Yeah.
you go. I don't know all of the little
Yeah.
kids.
Okay.
The little baby. Yeah, you got to think about these people that they're influenced by. And I don't know how old the guest letter children, how old they are, but friends, the
Or a big
company you
influence. Yeah.
the company you keep. There's so many other influential factors that play a part in this journey that nobody told us about. You can do, your damnedest, like, and still get a different outcome. There is no handbook to parenting.
Ugh.
Every day is different. Whether you got one kid, whether you got 17 kids, because they're all different. So I try to tell parents, and even though I find myself slipping in this and I have to remind myself, give yourself grace.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the hardest part, and I've seen it several times, and Dante and I have had this conversation several times. At a certain point, you have to let your kids fall.
So that is
That is
interesting
the
that you
hardest
say
part.
that, because I said that to my husband about one of our kids here recently. That I said to him, and this is so funny. So I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna share this with y'all, okay? So, as I told you guys, I was a teen mom, okay? And not it definitely wasn't planned, but it happened. Okay, that was I was telling my kids, I was telling Apple, I said, you know I never got caught for the things that I did. Yeah, mom, dad never got caught. Okay, the one thing I got caught was my baby because that was the evidence.
Evidence, yeah.
Okay, that was the evidence. And I have gone on record, even though I obviously I'm 17. I didn't have any. I didn't. I can even. I My plan, I think, was not even to have kids. I don't even think I even wanted kids. Before I, like no. Um, and so, my parents, of course, like I told you, they didn't talk to us about anything. So they wasn't talking to us about sex, even though, you know, our parents come from a sense of, don't have sex. That's not even realistic.
Realistic, I agree. It's
That
a
like
setup for failure.
like come on, man. You didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? You can try to
Right.
act like
Because they were young.
Do you hear me? Now my mama, I don't know, cause I say Dolly Mae, she act like she walked on water. So I don't know. Maybe he could have been her first. I give you that. But my daddy, I know damn well you was not finna make me believe, okay? And so they wasn't having, any discussions with us about these things. I had a baby, and even though I felt like that situation at the time, I felt like it ruined me. I later said Xavier saved my life because I still have like that rebellion in me. I was a rebellious
You still have it
teen.
in you, cousin.
I still have it in me. I do. And I know that, okay? And so because of that, I like to move to the beat of my own drum. You ain't gonna tell me. Like, if you're not my parenting style, like what works for me is not you telling me you can't tell me to do what you're not doing. Cause I'm gonna question that. Like if you gonna tell me not to go over here and be with these kind of people, but I know you be with these kind of people, how you gonna tell
Leading
me?
by example. I agree.
So, that's kind of me. I'm a hands-on kind of person. I get more with hands-on. That's how I work. And so, you can't really tell me anything. It's gotta come with some data because I'm so analytical. It's gotta come with some data to support what you're telling me. Otherwise, I'm not gonna hear it.
It's just air.
Is basically. And so I feel like because of the fact that I was, this rebellious person, my life could have been, it could have been, and the fact that, even though I grew up in the suburbs, I went to school in the hood. And so, like you said, those influences and the people around you and all this. So, no telling where it could have been, right? So, here's my moment. I ain't got to put y'all in my business, but I'm going to tell y'all that for me, like going to college, my kids going to college, to protect my investment, we need some kind of birth control in place. Because I don't want you going out there and we focusing on a bag but not a baby bag. Like that's not the bag I want you to bring back.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I had a discussion with my daughters about the birth control. They were in agreement, so it wasn't like I forced them to get on it. They agreed too, which I was like, you know what I'm saying? They were like, yeah, I want to get on it.
Look,
You know-
you can't be like,
Yeah,
do you?
Yeah, exactly. So, girl, I have to. But I told my husband, I said, do you think I created? So, the new Final Destination movie came out. Were you in? Did you watch any of the Final Destinations?
I think I may have seen the first one.
So there's like a part in that where it's like a couple of the movies, and even this one, it's like you can cheat. You know how you cheat death. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, did I? So for me getting pregnant changed the trajectory of my life, and in my opinion, we'll never know. But I feel like it was in a good way. Like I really do feel like that.
It slowed you down.
It slowed me the freak down. And you also know that as a mom, I mean, I know your kids are both by your husband. But for me, that first kid showed me exactly what I did not want in a relationship, what I wasn't going to be picking again. So again, had I not had Xavier, my picker, I was picking all the wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like maybe I would have continued to do that. Okay, so that changed. Um, but I was like, do you think I'm like cheating the way that their life could possibly is designed
To be.
to be, because I'm making them do this. And he said, girl, it was so funny because he was like, don't think like that. Nah,
I bet he did.
nah, you all
Especially
right.
the girls,
Yeah,
yeah.
nah. Because his thing is, he feels like after 21, if they don't want to be on it, they could be off. He said 21 or or you graduate college,
Fair
whichever one. Because he said he feel like at 21 you're a legal adult. You know, you're legally an adult. So at that point, you should very well be able to make your own decisions. But while we're still paying your rent, paying your car notes, I just got a message the other day. Can you send me $50? While we still doing that, no, baby, we
Taking
gotta
care of
protect.
you.
We gotta protect these investments. But yeah, I do. I have like thought about that, like because it's like not that I would, because I don't want unwanted pregnancies on my daughters. Like I don't want that. Okay, so
That's the scary part.
do you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you hear me? Okay, I don't want that for them, and so that is why I made that move. But then it's like at the same time, it's like, man, you keep thinking shit is sweet, because it's like, did me doing this, did I create a little monster? You know what I'm saying? Because now you think shit's sweet.
Well, you only did what was within your control. And your control, or what you were trying to do, is prevent a teenage pregnancy. You want them to see out their journey that they're on. What they do that's within their control, you have no control over.
Absolutely not. Right.
So you can't worry and create a mental beast because you want. What are they doing? Are they trying to?
But like I identify with Mama on the Edge in this letter when the part, because I have 4 grandkids. Now I will say, my daughter, 100% takes care of her kids. Okay, so I can say that she does 100% take care of them. But now she do be looking for a babysitter. Okay, now financially she don't ask us to do anything. Them boys come with their haircuts, they shoot everything. Like she keep them looking nice, everything. They're doing good in school. But yeah, she be needing a babysitter. Now I don't mind
I
that
think
part.
that's a fair trade off.
Yeah, it is. I would definitely, but the baby Xavier, she'll show you,
Recap my
baby.
statement.
She will show you how a bitch come down the slide when it comes to needing a babysitter. Okay, she be needing a babysitter, and she don't come back for them damn kids. You gotta call her, like, girl, don't you know your
Did you
kids are over here, like for real. But so I could identify in the sense, because let me just be honest, because I know y'all get sick. This is the 3rd show, and I know y'all already sick of me saying it, but y'all, I feel like I've been a mama my whole life. And so now that I'm at this point where, okay, everybody's grown and doing a thing, I'm going to be honest. My biggest fear is having to take care of her kids. That something happened to her, and then I got all these kids. Because she ain't stopped. She won't get no birth. She won't, tie her tubes, so she can still keep going. And I'd be like, oh no, please don't. But it's like, that's her, that's her body and her choice. She's always wanted to be a mama. That was what she wanted. And she, obviously. But yeah, that is my biggest fear. Like, I wanna like enjoy my life too. I don't wanna have to take care of, I don't want to say, because I love them dearly, so if I had to, because there has, even now, like, them kids, they know that our house is about to be empty. Bailey
Then
done
I already
started.
got their
Baby,
money.
Bailey want to move. She was like, "Can I stay with y'all?" And of course, of course, yes, we ain't gonna tell them, nah, y'all can't come over here. Nah, y'all can't, like, no, unless it's something I have to do. That's the only time I tell them no, and then we'll reschedule for another time for them to come. But yeah, they trying to move. Okay,
That's
they are
cute.
already trying to move. So, but I just want to be free. Like, I don't know what it's like. Even though I know empty nesting doesn't mean that I'm going to be free. I get it, mama on the edge. I'm not going to be free, but I don't have to deal in the same capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what I am most excited about. So yeah, like her dealing with her grandkids, and not being able to go on vacation because we can't. We gotta, who gonna pick the kids up, and who gonna do this, and who gonna do that. Like, I don't. I
And
don't.
so I have, I won't say too much on the topic, but I, not me, but I know somebody very close, similar situation. Um, and it is hard because, well, I do it for the grandkids, you know, because if I don't do it, like she said about her son, well, where would they be?
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, when do you say, you know what, this is the line in the sand? Some kind of line. It could be squiggly. You know what, I'm not going to have a firm line, but there are going to be some boundaries. You
And
don't know until you actually take that leap of faith and say, you know what I mean? You don't know what a person will do. Um, some people, my dad and I had this whole debate. Some people lack in I said some people lack intrinsic motivation. He said people are born with it
they
because
what?
lack intrinsic motivation, like being able to motivate themselves to, like, you know
I
what?
agree with your daddy.
Mm,
And my mom and them say, Chester was a genius. They still try to say that to this day, that he
yes,
was a
that's why
genius.
you know, baby.
I don't know about you, but I know Chester. No, I'm just joking. But no, I agree. I agree with him. I think Tamanya, I will tell you, it's in you, not on you.
Okay, so if it's in you, now I mean, I guess it's two ways to look at that coin. If it's in you, then it has not you have not been shown, there is something has not ignited for you to know that it's in you.
I don't
So
think it's in everybody. That's just how I feel about it. Because if
that's what I just said.
oh, he's saying that it's in
Everybody,
everybody.
and I said that
No.
it's not.
Oh,
Okay,
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 okay.
yeah,
Well
yeah,
then, no, Chester. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
That's
You
and
are.
that's what I said because, you know, I had the will to be like, you know what, I'm gonna break this generational curse. I'm gonna be the first college graduate. You know, like I had the that was in me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but
Sorry.
not everybody has it. So maybe that's something mom on the edge with the son. Maybe that's something that, he doesn't have. Maybe I'm just not motivated.
Mm.
Um, and I don't know parenting style. I've learned, and I fail at this. I fail at being a parent every day because we're not perfect. Um, but I've learned to, my kids tell me how they feel. Well, Mama, I don't like when you, or I feel like this. When we were growing up, that was not a thing.
Oh, it
You
was
didn't
definitely
have
wasn't. Thing. You didn't
feelings.
have
You
no
didn't
opinion.
have.
You better not have an opinion.
You better not have an opinion. You don't have a thought.
You
you
did
know.
no.
So I think that plays a big part of parenting too.
Okay.
Just allowing your kids to come and say, Mom, I feel like you were wrong, or Dad, I feel like you were wrong, or that hurt my feelings, or to open dialogue. I That could be a big part. So if maybe mom on the edge, maybe son feels pressured to go a certain path that he doesn't want to go because it's his parents' path, but he can't open up and say, hey, you know what? This is what I really want to do, but they're not going to approve of it, so I'm just not going to do nothing at all. And and again, it's not insult to. It's just
Hmm.
hypothetical. Um, it's so many different layers to parenting. Um,
And that's the part that nobody, I mean, it's just the things that nobody talks about. I mean, you raise them right and they still choose chaos. That's not your failure, that's their journey. And,
you know what? Speaking of this whole topic, I saw somewhere, and I can't remember where. It was somewhere on social media where somebody said it was. I don't know if it was a quote or a statement that they did not want to have kids because that's a forever worry.
oh, and that's one of the things. I mean, like, I haven't even been able to get in half the questions, and we're almost like an hour in, so we don't have that much time. But that is one of the questions that I was going to even ask you. Like, if you could do motherhood all over again, like, would you?
Absolutely.
You would.
I have fun with my kids. They drive me crazy at certain points, but we can laugh. We're at a point now, as I'm figuring it out and learning it, learning to be a parent to them, um, there were some, rough moments when I looked inside myself to be like, you know what, I feel like there could be some changes, to parenting style. Um, but yeah, I would do it all over again. We have fun. I feel like they've added a value to who I am as a person today, my career, um, and just my open insight on parenting, um, kids, why kids do what they do.
Hmm.
We were only taught um, bad, and what was the other one that I said?
Bad attitude and.
Yeah, bad attitude or just bad.
Hmm.
We didn't know any other way, so I would definitely do it again.
I would do it again. Definitely would do it differently. Because I'm like you. I have told my kids they do know that the best part of my life is them.
Hmm.
So I definitely love and adore them. But you definitely would do it differently.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely would do it differently.
I agree with that. And another part, and I do want to, if somebody has some pretty good questions or questions that you think it could, um, we could jump in and answer. One more thing I want to add to this topic
Hmm.
is that we didn't. I don't know how we missed it. We as moms tend to get lost within parenthood.
Why is my
Within
question? Why is my question is what advice would you give to moms who feel like they have lost
lost
themselves in
themselves.
motherhood? And you just went there. Thank you, Tamanya.
Um, balance, and then okay, well, how do you find balance? What I've learned is uh, being intentional, planning. You know, if you have kids in sports, okay, they got football, soccer, whatever. You find your day, your window, your hours, and be like, this is my time. What that look like, people, think that may be manicure, pedicure. If that's your thing, that's your thing. If that is, you know what, I'm going to shower. I'm going to put on me some PJs. I'm going to leave my bonnet on. I'm going to binge watch me a show. And I'm not getting out of my bed. And I'm not coming out of my room. That's your business.
Hmm.
Whatever it looks like to you, whether that is, you know what, I'm gonna go ride my bike, I'm gonna walk around the mall, whatever it looks like, but take the time for you, and you will get lost over and over again on this journey. Um, Having a friend to talk to, girls' time, like my friends and I talk about this all the time. Scheduling a brunch. As you find the older you get, everybody got something to do.
Hmm.
you know. But putting it on the calendar, setting up the reservation.
Right.
taking yourself out.
Yeah. Didn't we talk about this last week?
So whether it's an hour, those hours out the day add up. My sometimes I find my in the garage. You know, I may be in the garage for a whole hour. I may be listening to music. I may be scrolling. I may be doing whatever. I can hear my thoughts. That's my peace. It's not ideal, but that's my me time.
Right.
Before I open the door, mama, mama. um, so it does not have to be um, picture perfect. You know, where you go spend $100 at the nail shop. Make it what you want to make it.
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes. You know, set the time to what you want to set it, but take that time for you. Buy you that shirt. I'm still guilty of that. Putting it back and then I find myself in the kids section. I done put my outfits back, but I done bought them 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
So leaving mom guilt because you can't pour into them if you don't have anything to pour.
Absolutely. And because I feel every mama deserves to feel more than somebody's mama, I'm putting you on to one of my favorite ways to connect with yourself. So, you guys, our sensitive line, our sensitive gel, we have sensitive soaps, is made for you. It's for the woman that has been pouring out for everybody else and needs a moment to pour back into herself. So you are still worthy of softness even when life is hard. So y'all make sure you go to Sweet Kitty Club, sweetkittyclub.com, and use pink table as the code for a sweet discount. Okay.
You got time for one more question?
Oh, go ahead. What's your question?
Not from me.
Okay.
From me.
Oh, do we have any questions? Oh, we'll get to that. No, I don't have any questions because I did just check. And so we did have people that shared the live and liked the live. So if you shared or commented, yeah, thank you. We appreciate that. All right.
This is a topic that is not often talked about because we are expected to do motherhood, wounds and all. So hopefully this has given, people a different attitude or to know that you are not alone.
That part. You're
People
not.
may not talk about it because as my cousin shared, they want that representation and presentation to be down packed. So they may not talk about it. But I can promise you, I've had many conversations with moms and it's like, dang, for real? And they gave me a little bit of wholeness. You're not alone.
That's what I said. I said this last week. It's so funny you're like saying it because that's how I feel. Like a lot of times we do think that I just have a badass kid. No, it's not just you,
And
girl.
kids are not bad.
Okay, well, it's not just you, girl. It's not just you dealing with that shit. Like it's some other mamas dealing with it too, and not just even motherhood, just life in general. A lot of times, we think, like I said, that we're just the only ones having to go through the motions. And you would be surprised who in your friends, your group chat.
And to add to that, and it just popped in my head, sometimes women or mothers, mothers may not feel like they have a vulnerable place to share.
I definitely feel
it's
like that.
internalized because you know why? The judgment zone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be judged because, you know what? My son got kicked out of school because he was smoking weed or vapes. Or he stole something from the store. So now he done caught a case. People tend to look at you sideways based on your kids' actions.
Which I have some friends, listen. And it's funny because I could go to my friends and be upset about something that one of my kids did, and they would turn around and be like, "Girl, that ain't nothing. My kid just da 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 da," and I'd be like, "Oh, thank you for that," because it's like, like like I said, we both are in this together. We both have these same feelings. Your kid, just because, and I had to share this because I noticed, during graduation time, it was like because I was noticing a lot of, some people say it's not bragging, it's just, sharing, da 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 da. But it's like, I had to put out a
Confidence.
message that if your child goes to college or not goes to college, so the fuck what?
I agree.
Because people will try to judge you on that shit too. What they doing?
And
What
but
they gonna
I
do?
used to, but that again goes back to society norm. You know what society has deemed as the right path of success, but then also what parents probably have forced on kids. And I was that way with my oldest. You have to go to college. She wanted to, but it was like she didn't have any other. As the world has changed, and as I'm dealing with a completely different type of kid, we had a whole list for Dylan. You go to college. You want to go to the military. You want to be a plumber. Do you want to be an electrician? You want to drive trucks? You know, given options. Because everybody's different, and college is not for everybody. So it's unfortunate, and that adds to that PTSD in motherhood.
It does.
The
Because then you're
judgment.
judging and
Yep.
comparing. Oh, your
Oh, they're comparing.
friends
Yep,
that
yep.
they kids are doing this, this, and this, and my kid ain't doing shit. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
But you don't
And
know
then
that
you start
silent journey.
isolating
Yep.
yourself from your friends
Yep.
because of the
Woo,
comparison that you put yourself in.
baby.
Nobody, y'all ain't doing that. You did that, and then now you feeling like I don't have friends. Like you
I mean,
chose.
but you say you chose, but it's an unconscious chose because I'm conscious of the fact that what they gonna say or what they gonna think. You know what I
And nine
mean?
times out of ten, Tamanya,
It's nothing.
I was just gonna say
It's
they ain't
nothing.
thinking shit. A
But
lot of
mentally,
times we'll put these thoughts of what other people are thinking, and they ain't even thinking. I remember this girl. I had a little. I ain't gonna say a fallout, but I just stopped fucking with her. Okay, and she told me this. We had a conversation about this afterwards. She felt like, when we had our little fallout, she was like, well, I'm gonna show her ass. Like she was gonna show me. And she was like, she get on social media, and she was in her words, she was seeing me live my best life, which let her know I wasn't giving now fucks about nothing that you was doing. I don't care. Like, people are always,
excuse me.
oh, well, when I said, when I did da 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 da, and you was looking, child, I might have been looking like that because I was thinking about, maybe my stomach started, maybe I started getting the bubble guts, and that's why I look like that. Maybe it was something, it might not have had shit to do with you, what you got going on, what you said, or whatever. But, people like to deflect, okay?
I mean, it could be. That's a whole different unpacking. It could be a whole. Could be
Your
anxiety.
insecurities. That's what I'm saying. It's your insecurities. And nine times out of 10, we're talking
Could
about
be something
motherhood.
beyond insecurity.
What could it be beyond?
It
Because
could be anxiety. It could be imposter syndrome.
okay,
It could
but
be.
those things. So again, that's a you thing. That ain't a me thing. And what I'm saying is what people typically do. What I notice. So like for case in point, let's say you will make a comment like, oh girl, like how when you said when you went to the bathroom and you came back and you was like, are we live? And I was like, Tamanya, I wouldn't go live without you being in here. Not using that as because that was something, so whatever. But like with that, maybe that's something you would do. Maybe you would be the person to hit the button before I came in and had a seat and got comfortable. So because you would do that, you're going to project that shit on me and say, "Oh, we live, girl, like, what are you talking about? I'm sitting right here. I ain't made a move." But is that some shit you would do? So you're projecting it on me, and that's what I'm saying. When that's a you problem, that don't have nothing to do with me. Your anxieties, your insecurities, your imposter syndrome, all of that, they don't have shit to do with me. But you will project that over here like I'm the one that did it and I'm the one that said it. I didn't say your son was a dumbass. You said your son was. You know what I'm saying? Like I would never. say anything like that about somebody's kid. Like, why would you even are you saying that because you would say those things? You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it. But anyway, I don't know who needs to hear this, okay? But sis, you did your best. You did your best, Tamanya. Okay, you did your best. You are allowed to evolve. You are not a bad mother just because your kids did not turn out the way you had hoped. Okay, so y'all, you got to keep your heart open, but your guard at peace. All right. This was a fun time here at Pink Table Talk. I mean, my first guest, my cousin, and I just want to tell y'all, because this is episode 3. I've really, really been. Have you been able to watch any of the any shows before now?
The first one.
Okay, the first one. Okay, well, go back and watch the second one because I will tell you, in my opinion, it's getting better in terms of my comfortability in front of this
And that's
camera.
how anything goes.
Yeah, so because normally, even in the decade, like I would do some stuff on camera, but not in this capacity. I like to be behind the scenes. So me coming up front is a little different for me.
Yeah, this was different for me too.
Yeah, okay. So this was a lot of fun to do this, but I will tell y'all, episode 3, I planned this out to go just like I'm doing it, which was I wanted to, kind of start y'all off slow. And this is the, I will probably say right now, this is probably the nicest, smooth topic that we're going to have. This is the last of the last. Baby.
So this is the last time I could be on here?
No, but I'm saying, like, I feel like this
I'm a little
conversation,
nervous.
you was nervous?
No, I'm talking about.
This conversation to me
ride
was
gonna be
just,
bumpy.
like a safe unpacking. Just again, it's like Tamanya when we on the phone for 3 and 4 hours because we will do that. It's just conversation amongst cousins. But I'm saying future conversations that we're gonna be having on Pink Table Confidential they're gonna start getting rawer and rawer and rawer. And I did this because I wanted the people to get to know, Montana at her.
Most vulnerable moment?
I don't want to say because it's gonna get very vulnerable. Okay, we ain't even unpacked
Yeah,
vulnerability.
scratch the surface.
We ain't even did that. But I wanted you to, I wanted you to get to know me a little bit with these first 3 episodes before I show you how a bitch come down the before I show you how a bitch come down the slide. I wanted to do that because y'all, we are going to be having some real discussions. You know what I would have wanted you in here for when we talk about friendship PTSDs. It is so interesting, and we're not gonna unpack it because, like I said, I got a whole show for it. Okay, but we talk about breakups in relationships, like with partners, but we never talk about friendship breakups. You know what I'm saying? And the things, and I know
Gonna come in hot.
do you hear me? Like, girl, that's gonna be like, get your popcorn ready for that.
And your wine.
And
bottle.
and what's so interesting, everybody, like, I made Tamanya do this topic in a sense because when I say that, because everybody wanted to talk about the friendship topic. They wanted to talk about, the sisterhood between, and how that, the good and the bad of that, of that. And so, like I said, we could have definitely went there, but I was like, you know what? Because when I sent out the topics, nobody wanted to talk about motherhood. Nobody wanted to touch it. They was like, because I feel like some of the conversation can be judged. No, I think it could be, because if you do, can you really?
I think anything could be judged.
Well, yeah.
I think we were pretty open-minded with. We share our piece, and we were pretty open-minded with, any piece that wasn't ours.
Yeah.
What
For
they
sure.
do with it, so be it.
Well, I was definitely
But
I played
can
it safe.
understand that.
I played it safe But I did tell my kids they don't have to listen to this episode. Like this is an episode you could just forget this one. you know?
Um,
But I didn't say anything that I feel
right.
would hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah,
And that was important to me.
friendship PTSD is a good one, and I guess a lot of people probably wanted to want to hear about it because they experienced it, experiencing it, and then like how do you navigate that? Because that's not something you have to do. Um, Maybe it's something you want to do, something maybe people just don't know how to work through it. In motherhood, you figure it out,
Hmm.
but how do you figure it out on this end? So maybe
You
that's
know,
something.
and before we leave, I will say to you, I had a conversation with my mama this week about friendships because I said to my mama, now, she did point out because in my opinion, I said my mama didn't have no friends, but she did, I guess the way that their dynamic with their friends and the way we have our dynamics with our friends are totally different
Of
in
course,
my opinion. Like how you were saying doing brunches and stuff like that. My I didn't see growing up, I didn't see my mama
it's the generation.
hanging out with her girlfriends.
Yeah,
They weren't coming over to the house to visit. My friends know my kids. My kids know who my friends are. So if you're not supposed to be at the funeral, baby. They know you ain't supposed to be at the funeral. They know, okay. And I told my mom like I don't feel like I learned how to be a friend through watching her. I definitely don't because I didn't see that. And then now my mama wasn't like this, but I do know even growing up because I had friends who mamas was like this, where they'd be like, "Mama, um, can I go over and play with Kim? Forget Kim, old fast ass. Don't go over there talking to that girl, cause da 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 da." So we grow up with our mothers
putting stuff in your ear.
putting stuff in your ear about other females.
Hmm.
When you're little, you told that bitch jealous of you in kindergarten,
Not
okay?
kindergarten.
In kindergarten, your mama telling you somebody jealous or somebody, and that's what boys don't get that from their dads or even from their mamas. They don't get that. They want to go play with little Johnny and ride bikes with him.
Right.
It's perfectly
To a certain
okay.
age, I think maybe teenage age.
I'm just saying, in my 40 plus years, I've never heard it.
Mm.
I never heard it the way that, especially the way I hear
It's
it.
probably not as forceful or strong
I never
willed
even think
as
I
the.
even heard my brother get warned about any of a friend that he had from either my mama or my daddy.
Mm.
Now, did we get warned? Absolutely. That
I did
ain't
with
your friend.
I did with both mine.
Yeah, that ain't your friend. That girl don't like you.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like we get that from a young age. But anyway,
Yeah.
we're gonna unpack it all. But thank you guys again for tuning in to Pink Table Confidential. It has been wherever you are watching, whether you're watching this show or listening through the audio, please like wherever you are finding it. Um, whether you're watching whatever platform you are looking or watching, thank you, whatever platform you are watching or hearing it, please sure you like that platform because we will be on all podcast platforms by the end of the week. So we are working on
Okay.
that. Yes.
Toot
So
toot.
the video, you guys, is just it's a bonus, it's a plus, but the audio portion
It's a
we
great
finna get
plus.
out there. So make sure you are following Pink Table, make sure you're following the after party if you want to come in and produce your own podcast. Holla at your girl. And always and forever, check me out at sweetkittyclub.com. Use code Pink Table for a sweet discount. Tamanya, where can they keep up with you? Or excuse me, do you want them keeping up with you, girl?
On Threads, I've
Okay.
dedicated Threads
Oh, Threads is that's where you hang
to
out.
my I've been a little MIA, but that's where I've kind of dedicated my space that is
Okay.
not uh personable, and it's Yella Bella.
Okay.
YELLABELLA01.
All
I believe
right.
it's an underscore in there somewhere.
I should have asked her for that so we could have put it down there. Tell them one more time what the spelling is.
Yella Bella, YELLABELLA. I believe it's underscore 01.
All right. Well, y'all already know happy women don't hate and hating women ain't happy. Okay. So, y'all, thank you again for tuning in to another edition of Pink Table Confidential with me, Montana, and y'all keep it locked.